Greetings, Vernisage here. Greetings, Vernisage here. Welcome back to the channel. This is a very different type of video than you're used to. If you missed my community post the other day, I asked you guys what you felt about me posting videos that's not really these big redesigning videos, but me just doing something a bit more simple that's more easily produced. Just so you guys don't have to wait months just to hear from me again. Because to be honest, these redesign videos, they take a lot of time. And the project I'm working on right now is one of the most ambitious projects I've worked on so far, so I don't want to make something half-assed. I want to do it the best way I can, and the best way I can do that is to have more time. So I was thinking this would be the best solution. Make something a bit more easily produced, something you guys can enjoy, and something I enjoy as well. So today, we're doing something a bit controversial. I'm gonna be ranking the Halo Reach helmets. Now, I say controversial because a lot of Halo fans, they grew up with this game. While my Halo story is I grew up with the original trilogy, but then I kind of took a break playing some Call of Duty. Don't ask why. So I kind of missed the glory days of Halo Reach. So I wouldn't really say I'm blinded by nostalgia. I'm not gonna say I have the right opinion either. This is just my opinion. But I'm gonna be ranking the Halo Reach helmets. And if you guys agree with me, let me know. If you don't, please don't kill me. Now I'm just gonna go from this order they have right here. Oh, and also thanks to Helmets Guy for making this tier list, and thanks to Halopedia for all these images. So we're gonna start with Cat's helmet, or Aerosol, right? Cat's helmet, it's a nice helmet, I like it. My main issue with it is it's not very aggressive, but helmets don't have to be aggressive, you know? But I just think it's a bit too round, like the visor is round, the helmet shape overall is round. It's very smooth and round, which, again, nothing wrong with it, but I'd probably say B. It's good, it's just, you know, it does what it does well. It's just not my cup of tea. Now, moving on to one of the more recent helmets. Well, not really. It was kind of known as the Forgotten Helmet for a while. The GRD, or the ACUS. This is the GRD version. Now, this version is pretty nice, I will say. I don't really like the mouth area, but the eye kind of reminds me of a specific Bionicle, so I mean, that's a win. I'd probably go for B as well. Yeah, I think the eye does a lot here, because if we move on to the regular ACUS helmet, that's probably going down here. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just not a big fan of the visor. I don't really know what they were going for. The mouth area, again, is very simplistic, but in a weird way. It's hard to explain. I think it's a bit too bold for its own good, if that makes any sense. It's an interesting helmet, I'll give it that. Now, moving on to the Commando helmet. This is definitely S tier. Like, this is one of the best helmets we've seen in a Halo game. Yeah, I said it. Like, the angularity of the entire thing, like, everything is facing down. And a funny thing is, when I drop a redesigning helmets video, people usually comment, like, at least one helmet per video is compared to the Commando helmet by a lot of people, because people think I redesign helmets to look like the Commando, so that probably says a lot. So yeah, I really like the Commando helmet. I think it's great how the visor is kind of blank, because we already got so much happening down here. Yeah, great helmet. Now, moving on to the CQB. One of my favorites from Halo 3, actually, and I think they, if I'm not mistaken, they didn't do much with it in Halo Reach. Maybe slimmed it down a little, but yeah, I like it. It's definitely a B tier. Like, I've always liked CQB, but, you know, it's a bit awkward. Like, it kind of suffers from the same thing as Cat's helmet. The entire helmet is very round. Again, nothing wrong with that, but, you know, it kind of lacks this aggressiveness or the angularity which we usually think of when we think of Spartan helmets. But I still like it. I still like how original it is. Like, there's no other helmet that looks like it. Now, the CQC, there's nothing wrong with the CQC. I like it, but it's definitely a C tier for me. Like, it's a good helmet, it just doesn't say much, which is okay, obviously. But, you know, it's a blank visor, which it works. It's a Spartan helmet, basically, which, you know, it's fine. Now, speaking of Bionicles again, the EOD. So this is I guess it's a fan favorite. Some people like it, some people don't. I definitely like it. It's probably the first A tier. It's a bit weird, like it is, but I like it. Like, it's definitely an aggressive design, that's for sure. Now in Halo 3, there were actually 2 eyes as the visor, which was interesting. Some people like it. I think this is an improvement. Like, it's more classic Spartan, if that makes sense. Which I like the uniformity. Now, the good old Emil helmet. Actually, we should start with the EVA. It's an S tier, I'm sorry. A lot of people will not agree with me here, which makes sense, but the EVA is kind of my baby. It just kind of is. Like, it all started in Halo 5, actually. Like, I just read some of the books, and I really liked Kelly, and she sported a EVA variant, so I started using the EVA, and it kind of became my helmet, so that's usually what I go with nowadays. Like, yeah, it's simple, that's for sure. Some people don't like this protrusion at the chin, but I think it's kind of necessary to just give it some character. But now moving on to Emil's helmet, which is basically the same thing, but, you know, with a good old skull. Like, I want to give it an A tier, but it's kind of become this, don't get me wrong, kind of cringe helmet, you know? It kind of is, like, oh, it's a skull on a helmet, that's cool and all, but, you know, I'm not gonna be affected by what people think of it. So I'm just gonna put it A tier, because, you know, it's the EVA. It's just a bit messed up, but it's kind of cool. Now, Grenadier, or George's helmet. Maybe a bit controversial here. I know a lot of people like this helmet, and I do too, but now, it wouldn't be a vernissage video without some redesigning. So I want to show you guys what I would do to improve this helmet, because this is the first helmet where I see so much potential, but I just think it kind of stumbles at the finish line, and I want to explain how. There. We're done. This helmet has always bothered me, because it's so close to being perfect, but honestly, these pieces at the visor, they kind of ruin it for me. I mean, yeah, it kind of looks like the Mark 6, but it's just so much more easy to look at. This just feels like unnecessary noise to me. Very specific, but if it looked like this instead, I'd probably place it B or A. Just because it doesn't really stand out as much as I wanted to. Like, yeah, it kind of looks like Mark 6, but I guess it's kind of supposed to be because he's a Spartan too, but, you know, it's a good helmet. Now, speaking of being controversial, the Gungnir. I don't really see what people see in this helmet. Now, let me explain. I don't know how to explain. I think my main issue is it's just a gray blob. Like, it might be basic, but what I want to do is give it some more variation in its design language. Just give it something that sticks out. So I think this is something I would do with it. Just give it some more dynamism and just make it say something. Because to me, it's just a bit safe as it is. Even though it's very original with its covered up visor, I think it could be a lot more interesting if you give it more angularity. But that's just me. Now moving on to the Hazop helmet. And that's also a helmet I think is a good helmet. It's just kind of meh to me. Like, the only thing I might change is actually the mouth. Now this might be enough, but I'd even go as far as to do something like this just kind of cover up this mouth area, because it's always looked like an awkward mouth to me. So pretty rough, but this is a bit more what I'd go for compared to this. But that's just me. Now, moving on to the JFO. Now I know Kiwi from my Discord staff, join my Discord by the way, is gonna kill me for this. But JFO, yeah, it might be a B tier, but it's not higher than that. Now, again, let me explain. JFO is a great helmet. I love it. I love the vents here. I love the shape of the helmet and the lines, like everything is pointing towards the chin here. And the chin is this very smooth and round shape, which I really like. But something about it is off for me. I don't know if you guys feel the same, but the visor lines have always bothered me. And my main issue with this visor line is I don't really understand its purpose. Because what visor lines usually do is they give you eyes, basically. But what's off about me is this kind of looks like the eyes here, like these big ones. But it kind of goes up here in the middle, and the eyes are kind of far apart. So what I want to do is something more, let's see. Now it might be a bit safe, but this is definitely more what I would go for. Something that keeps the momentum of the lines going here, and that's also a lot easier to look at. So this would be my redesign of sorts. Now, the Mariner helmet. That's definitely a helmet that's good in its own right. I just don't know what to do with it. Like, it is what it is. I just don't like it. I think it's a bit wide, but you know, wide helmets should exist. They just don't really look good to me, personally. So to me, they're definitely a D tier. Now, the Mark 5B is definitely S. This is one of the best helmets we've seen in a Halo game, ever. Like, it even manages to be wide, which is a thing I just criticized, but it does it so well. It keeps the overarching themes of the Mark 6 and the Mark 5 obviously, but it really does something original, and it's definitely one of those helmets that hasn't been topped in its own category. Like, if you look at the Decimator from Halo 5, something that was supposed to be kind of the Mark 5B, it doesn't really do it better. Now, the Mark 6. It definitely belongs in the S tier, but specifically in Halo Reach, I want to put it in A tier. Because while I still love it, and it's the classic Halo helmet, I think it's kind of a downgrade from Halo 3, because of its visor. While I love the black brim, I think the visor lines are too wide, and I think it puts a bit too much detail where it doesn't really belong, so it kind of brings it down a little bit, but it's still incredible, so definitely an A tier. The Mark 5 is definitely S tier. The Mark 5 in general is incredible. I love every single Mark 5 except for the Halo 3 one, which is weird because I usually love all things Halo 3. But this design does something genius. It takes the classic design, but instead of just doing the classic design in higher fidelity, it actually does something unique. It goes for a much more angular design, which you know I like, while keeping all of the necessary ingredients of the Mark 5, such as the whiskers, the blank visor, and the black brim. So a flawless design, basically. Military police is, yeah, it's what it says it is. It's like a police helmet, which, you know, it's cool, but it's definitely C tier. The main reason why I feel this way is because of the visor. I definitely think this helmet has a lot of potential. I just think the visor is a bit too far down. So what happens if we bring it up a bit? So while it might look a bit more traditional Spartan now, I think it does it justice. Before it was a lot more top heavy, but now it's much more controlled, and the visor is much more in the eye level now. So it might look a bit too Spartan for a cop, but it definitely fits a Spartan a lot more. Now next up, the ODST helmet. And you can't go better than ODST, and this version is hands down the best one we got so far. It takes the Halo 3 design, it just compresses it. I don't know what can be said, like, it's the ODST helmet. Now the Operator, that's an interesting one, because I like it. It has so much potential, but it too stumbles at the finish line. In a way, I want to put it at C tier, but the attachment above the visor kind of makes it a B tier. My main issue with this helmet is again the mouth area. It's always bothered me how straight this helmet is. Like, it doesn't have much motion, it just kind of stands there. Now, I also went ahead and moved the visor line up a bit, and I think this just gives it so much more motion and variety. Now, moving on to the pilot helmet, which is basically like the EVA, but different. And for that, I gotta give it an A tier. Because it's not EVA, like it's this more angular and aggressive version of the EVA. And same goes for this one, like, you know, it's a skull inside of it. I'll take it, I guess. Now, moving closer towards the end, we have Recon. The classic helmet, which I want to give it an S tier. I want to give it an A tier. It might be B tier actually. I love Recon, but for me it's never gotten better than Halo 3. The Reach Recon suffers from the same problem as Cat's helmet, of being too round. Halo 3's version had a lot more dynamism in its design language. That's kind of what I'm going for here. Now the changes I would make is just this. Like, make it more dynamic than just a ball. So call me lazy, but this is what I do. Now June's helmet kind of reminds me of the Recon, but it gets the dynamism right. So it deserves an A tier. It really has this snipery look to it, which I love. And last up, security, which goes down here, I'm sorry. Now there are fans of this helmet out there, so please don't kill me. But I think Halo 3 and Halo 5 did better. Now my redesign is as simple as this. It might look weird going from this to that, but it's definitely more what I would do. I want to keep the roundness of it, but still make it a lot more interesting. Because this works as a base helmet, which you can put attachments on, but I want to make it look good even without attachments. So I think something like this gives it a more exciting look. And there we have it. That's my Halo Reach helmet tier list. Now again, this is just my opinion. And I know a lot of you guys love these helmets. Even some I put down here. But all in all, Halo Reach had some of the best helmets in any Halo game, and I always love it for that. I want to hear your ranking, so leave the tier list in the description. So go make it yourself, tag me on Twitter, and let me know your ranking. Now my next project is a big one, and I'm working with some great people on it, so keep an eye out. Now I want to give a huge shout out to my Spartan 2 patrons. That one guy, D Marshmallow, Sean, and Ripcorded. And my Spartan 4, Andrew and Dyer. If you like this video, give it a like. If not, a dislike. And let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I wish you all the best, and take care. Vernissage, out. I can't get off.